Peace, party people. Welcome back again to Where My Killer Tape At. And here we are, episode 55. Man, episode 55, party people. We're going to talk about how we should apologize. I know I've gone over this before. And we're going to talk about a little bit about Kevin Hart. I know you guys are tired of Kevin Hart. We're talking about why where we should be having these nuanced conversations. We're going to do a quick review of, a spoiler-free review of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And then we're going to talk about geek out on some books. It's particularly the Thanos book, Titan Consume. And we're going to bring back the health segment and how to approach women. Check it out, party people. Here we are with my Killer Tape at episode 55.
Rock steady. Rock steady. Rock, rock, rock. Steady, 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 steady. Gangsta, gangsta, gangsta. Gangsta, gangsta, gangsta. As for you profess it, make sure the science is applied with that who, what, where, when. Sometimes
I pull up, hop out, arrow, made it look sexy. They won't take me out my element. Nah, take me out my element.
Peace, party people. Episode 55 of Where My Killer Tape At. And I am sipping on some Bacardi. You guys know what it is, Bacardi, dark rum. I usually drink this around this time of year because I'm usually making coquito. Shout out to the Puerto Rican fan out there. I probably won't be drinking coquito until the last episode, which will be the holiday episode. But right now, that's what I use for my coquito, and so I'm usually sipping on Bacardi during this time. I like it because it's smooth. OG shit. You're not supposed to guzzle it for all those college kids out there that be guzzling Bacardi. El ron de Bacardi, right? El ron de Puerto Rico. Right, like you're not supposed to guzzle it, man. You're supposed to sip it. Word.
Yeah. Yo, I think Prince should run first on this one. I think so. Yeah. Yo, I think Prince should run first on this one. I think so.
Is ignorant bliss? No, in 2018, use your Googles, motherfucker. Word. While I was in the library, I found a jewel, and it's I'm gonna geek out again. It's a book. It's actually a Marvel Cinematic Universe book, an MCU book about Thanos. It's called Thanos Titan Consumed. I'm gonna keep saying Thanos and Thanos back and forth because I've always said Thanos, but everybody is like, yo, you gotta say Thanos. So, but I've always said Thanos, even ever since I was a young blood. Anyway, it's a MCU book, meaning that it's not tied. How should I say this? It's not like canon from the comic books, so they deviate from a lot of things. It's written by Barry Lyga. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Lyga. And it's a pretty dope book. I stumbled upon it. I didn't even know it was out. Like I just realized there was all this press for it. I don't know how I missed it, but I found it at my local library. And let me say this: it's worth picking up. Especially if you want to know more about Thanos before the movie. So it actually like explains, how he got to the idea of finding the Infinity Stones. I like it because it's just like Marvel Cinematic Universe. It does pull from different sources from the comic books. This one pulls loosely from the recent book by I can't remember by Jason Aaron, the Thanos book, and that's done by Bianchi, which the artwork is amazing. It tells you it kind of retcons his story, so it kind of does the same thing in this Thanos book, Titan Consumed. Anyway, it begins on his planet Titan. It shows about how he grew up, his relationship, I don't even want to say it's a relationship because his father treated him like shit. I mean, his father gave him everything he ever wanted. You know, like if he wanted a party, his dad threw him a party. But His father did realize his genius very early. So like at 1, Thanos was like smarter than somebody that was in high school. You know what I mean? Like he was already that smart. He did let him go to school one time, because he was like, "You're not gonna like it," but he let him go to school, and he didn't like it. He freaked everybody the fuck out. Not because of how he looked, because I think the people were kind of prepared for it, but it's because how he acted. Because I'm not gonna say he was socially awkward like we would think about it, but he just didn't have any tact or etiquette. Anyway, it talks about how he was raised, how I'm gonna try to not say any spoilers. How he was raised, how he didn't have a relationship with his mother because his father kept his mother in an insane asylum, one that he created just for her, that was run by androids or synthoids, as he called them. He literally created like biological beings to take care of Thanos' mother. Anyway, they show how Thanos first presented the idea to Titan about how, he had calculated how they were going to die. And he said, the best way to do it is if you kill half the population. So he figured, let me just bring this out. And they were like, nope, get out of here, sir. So he left. They kicked him out of Titan. And he was hoping to make it to the Kree Empire. But instead, he was found by this mad dude who ran a ship. And he was crazy. And then from there, he found 2 good friends. As he freed them, he overthrew the guy. He freed them. And he had 2 friends, and he decided that he was going to go on this quest to destroy the universe. I take that back. He was going to go back to Titan and fix it. That was his original goal. But he wanted to go to the Kree. That didn't happen. So it goes through the journey of how eventually he realized that, he found the Chitauri Empire. He utilized them. He used them. He, enhanced them evolutionarily. That's not a word, right? He evolved them, right? And then he used them to conquer. He went back to Titan and realized that Titan was already destroyed. That his idea that they were eventually gonna fall apart because they were just gonna overrun the planet. He was right, and it happened. So once he saw that, he tried to fix other places. I don't know why he thought that if he went to a planet, it was like, hey, look, I got this. This is gonna happen to your planet in about X amount of years. This is my idea. Let's do it. And they didn't want to do it, so he would just wipe them out. Then he decided maybe I should just go with plan B, which is to just wipe out half the planet like I had planned on. But then he realized that if he was to do this forever, it'll take him forever. Like he will never see the end of it because the universe is, not infinite, but it's really far. Everything is spread out, and it would just take him forever to do it, even if he had all the resources. So he heard about these Infinity Stones before. And then he actually finds the Mind Stone. And then he realizes he got to find the other one. So it actually shows you how he gets to the point where he has this idea. So I think it's cool, even though I still think it's mad. But I like it because it's set in the MCU. It shows you how he meets Gamora, how he meets Nebula, how he finds the Chitauri. I think that's important as well. So definitely check that out. I hope that was a dope review for you all because it was kind of long-winded. I don't want to talk about Kevin Hart, right? But you got to talk about Kevin Hart. We got to talk about a couple of things about him, right? And then I'm gonna leave that shit alone, right? I'm not even gonna talk about him because I'm actually. It's not even the fact that I'm not a fan of his. I respect his gangster because he's someone he reminds me of Steve Harvey, right? He's like a third-rate comedian who has a particular shift, right? He has a particular way how he gets down. And he's used it to his advantage. He's parlayed it. He's used that. It's like Ronnie Dangerfield, right? Remember Ronnie Dangerfield? Right? He was like, oh, I'm a loser. Everybody treats me like a loser. It was very self-deprecating. And he's used that and he's run with it. And he's built an empire on it. You know what I mean? Like, he's really done that. Like, he has a show on Netflix. He's always in all these movies with all these stars. You know what I'm saying? And let me just say this. I don't look at Kevin Hart. I know I'm hating on him. I don't look at Kevin Hart as someone who I expect to be on point when it comes to social society and politics. Like, I don't expect him to say something smart. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you know how reporters be on TV and they be asking people questions. I don't think no one's gonna ask him a political question. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't be surprised if his publicist tells people that interview him not to ask him political questions, which is cool. You know what I'm saying? He's an entertainer. That's what he does. But I wouldn't be surprised, right? So let me just point this out. This is the same cat that threw a party for his son, a 1-year-old son, by the way, about, you know, it was Cowboys and Indians theme. Like, think about that shit. Like, just, he's not that dude. He's not sophisticated. And I'm not trying, I don't want to sound condescending. I don't want to sound elitist, but I don't expect it from him. And don't get me wrong. There's some entertainers, there's some artists that I fuck with that I don't expect them to be on the social commentary tip. I don't, right? Like, man, I hate to do this. Like, I don't expect a porn star to be asking a question about, you know what I'm saying, racial disparities in education. I don't. Now, if they do know some shit, then I'm going to be like, okay, no doubt, I'm going to give them props. But I don't expect them to. Like, I don't. Like, that's not something that I wanted to, so don't ask them questions. You know what I mean? So, he did that with the Cowboys and Indians. He's somebody that I don't. I expect that from him. You know what I mean? If Dave Chappelle did it, then I'd be like, yo, B, what you doing? You know, like, I don't expect that from Dave Chappelle. So, like, that's somebody that I don't really expect anything smart to come out of him. But the latest situation is, you know, he has stepped down as Academy Awards host because he didn't want to apologize, which, you know, is his right. You know what I mean? I don't like it. And I know what he's trying to say. He's trying to say that, like, he's not going to bow down, which I get it, right? But and he claims that he apologized about it before. He did an interview. He didn't actually apologize. He brought it up and he said he should have said things differently. You know what I'm saying? But that's not an apology. But we should talk about how you should do apologies, though. Like, let's talk about that. You know, and then we're gonna get into this a little bit further, right? We're gonna do this, right?
It's all a game. It's all a game.
Let me just say this, like, you know, you learn shit as you get older, right? You learn that if you're really sorry about it, if you're really sorry about something, that you're gonna take the action steps to rectify it to the aggrieved, right? And it's one of those things where what I see happen is, like, especially what I saw with Kevin Hart. He was like, "Damn, son, I already apologized for this. What more can you want from me, man?" That's kind of like how his response was to that, right? Like, I already apologized for it. I ain't gotta do it again, right? And, like, that's mad childish. You know what I mean? Like, I work with kids, so, like, they do stuff like this, and you're just like, what are you doing? Like, first of all, let me just say this, that he got called out on some tweets, but we learned, you know, his stand-up, like, he talked about it in his stand-up, what he would do to his son if he found out he was gay. I know that was a long time ago, right? But and then here's the thing, I'm not part of the people that he offended, you know what I mean? So I really shouldn't speak on how he needs to fix it. But I do know that if I wrong somebody, right, and I apologize, and then if I truly mean it, I'm going to take the action steps to prove that I mean it. But the thing is, the person that I hurt, it's really up to them. Like, they're the ones that need to be like, well, this how you gonna fix it. So I know, like, when I do something wrong to somebody, I always say to them, like, okay, what can I do to fix it? Now, here, let me come clean. Like most men in the United States, I was extremely homophobic. You know what I mean? And I could try to clean it up and be like, well, I wasn't out here in the streets killing gay people. I wasn't out here in the streets beating up gay people. No, I wasn't doing that. But the fact of the matter is, I helped promote the culture and the atmosphere that made things like that possible. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I may have said, man, I don't fuck with gay people, fuck all that gay shit, right? The person next to me, though, even though I wasn't going to run up and punch a gay person in the face, but the person next to me might be on the edge. He might be somebody that's like, I don't like gay people, fuck that shit. If I see one, I'm going to punch him in his mouth. And then what I say to him, right, is going to ignite that. You know what I'm saying? Or even worse, right? We might be in a room where there's someone who's gay who feels unsafe around us. You know what I mean? And I can't blame him for that, right? Think about it. Think about if you're in a room, if you're black and you're in a room with a bunch of white dudes, and they in there like, yo, we want to fuck up black people. You're gonna feel very unsafe. You know what I mean? You're gonna be like, oh shit, what the fuck am I doing here, right? So like a lot of times when you hear people make these apologies, they don't actually take the action steps. So I'm not saying that you're gonna go from an extreme homophobe one day to, you know, somebody who's going to a gay pride event the next day. Like that don't even make, you know what I'm saying? Like that's not realistic. What I'm saying is you have to figure out how to do this. So how did I do that, right? I educated myself, you know, in the LGBT community. I read literature by gay people. You know what I'm saying? Like I listened to lectures. I attended lectures. I started interacting with them on a community activist level, things of that nature. Like really took those action steps to really represent that I only, because I could be like, yo, I'm not gonna say that no more, but then don't hang out with people who are gay, or don't interact or read literature or watch movies, etc., etc. You know what I'm saying? Like then I'm not really doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not really doing it. It's kind of like you see a white person who's like, oh, I'm not racist, but they don't really interact with black people at all, or they don't even think about them at all. And it's kind of like that really kind of helps perpetuate white supremacy. And the same thing with, if I don't do that, I kind of perpetuate that homophobia. I kind of help. I'm really helping out. I'm not really changing anything other than just what I'm saying out my mouth. So like, again, I'm not saying that Kevin Hart has to just go to the gay pride parade tomorrow. I'm not saying he has to donate all his money to the next pride event in his town. I'm not saying that, but there's steps that he needs to take to really prove to any community that he's really changed. And that's really how you do an apology. One part of Kevin Hart's argument was that, again, and I talked about this a little bit earlier, that he apologized already. And I know they talked about this on, I think it was with T with QJ, Queen and J. Shout out to T with Q and J. So let's say, and look, if you go to my blog, I have a blog, selfra.blogspot.com, selfra.blogspot.com. Another thing a lot of people don't know about me was, yes, I was a super hotep, right? And I'm going to talk about that on another show. I need to talk about that on another show, right? So I said some wild shit on my blog. If you go to my blog, and I started blogging in 2001. So there's stuff in there that's like, 17 years old. So go over there and check it out. And there's some stuff in there that I said that was really wild. I left it up there. And I left it up there because, number one, I want people to see that I grew from that I did learn my lesson. And if you ask me, I want people to ask me. I want people to say, hey, I ain't like what you said. And I'm like, hey, you know what? I apologize, man. I'm at a different place, though. And this is what I did to fix it. And, I hope this is enough. If not, let me know what's up. Let me know what else I can do. Because there's always something you could do to make things better. Always, right? I know that there's a lot of people that tell me that they feel comfortable around me, right? But there's some people that tell me that they don't feel comfortable around me. Should I be like, yo, you tripping? Or should I, try to figure out what it is and then fix it? Because you know what? I might be saying some shit that offends them. I know the other day I used the term hermaphrodite, and my intention wasn't bad. It's just that it was in a group of people that if I had said intersex, they wouldn't have known what it was, and I didn't want to explain it to them, which I should explain it to them, right? But I didn't, and if somebody pointed that out to me, and I was like, you know what? You're right. I fucked up. I should have used that word, and I should have explained it. You see what I'm saying? So I should consistently apologize for things like that, and I should also demonstrate that I'm willing to continue to grow. You know what I'm saying? Because as much as I might say that I'm not homophobic, there are times when I might do or say something that is homophobic. And again, homophobic doesn't just necessarily mean that I'm out here bashing gay people in the back of the head with a baseball bat. No, remember, it's creating that atmosphere, right? Because not all white people were lynching black people back in the day, right? But you had people that came to the picnics to watch black people be hung by their necks, right? You had people that sold the merchandise. And you had people who didn't say a word. So they're all complicit in those crimes, right? And that's what we got to worry about. Like, how complicit am I in this, right? I could quote Martin Luther King because your man wanted to quote Martin Luther King, right? He said, "Injustice, justice anywhere is an injustice everywhere." You know what I mean? And that's how we got to look at it. So, again, Kevin Hart, his response is weak. If he apologized, and he probably doesn't need the bag for the Academy Awards, but wouldn't it have been a better look if he apologized and then went to the Academy Award? Wouldn't that have been a better look? Think about that. We talked about this before, right? Remember how you were saying how somehow Jack Kirby and Stan Lee said that Black Bolt of the Inhumans, who's actually my only favorite Inhuman. I don't like Inhumans, but I'm geeking out right now. But his name is Blackagar Boltigan. Blackagar Boltigan. That sounds like when somebody takes an Onyx song, right? Somebody like in Germany, and they do like a remix. They be doing those deep underground white label promo remixes, and they're like, Onyx, back the fuck up, the Blackagar Boltigan remix. That's what it sounds like that says, man, right?
Since when did black men become kings?
You have no idea, yeah, to me, to what I say. And you have no idea how I got this way. Now hear my dream, and by the time you wake, I'll look down from the clouds, see I'm on my way.
Before we talk about Miles Morales, a lot of people like to give Donald Glover a lot of props for this. I'm not big. Some of y'all know me. I'm not a big fan of his, but Brian Michael Bendis did not create Miles Morales because Donald Glover was on. I think he was like on YouTube talking about how he wanted to play Spider-Man in the next movie. No, Miles Morales was created before he said that. Now I will admit that when Donald Glover said that, a lot of us fans, because I'm a huge Miles Morales fan. Everybody know I'm a huge Miles Morales fan. See, actually the only Spider-Man I really love, right? That's when everybody was like, he should be in a movie. And that was like back in like 2013 when people were saying that. So it came to life, you know what I mean? I guess, because I don't really believe in that universe stuff, but I guess like sometimes you got to call it, you got to claim it, right? You got to claim it. And I guess this is what we did. So let's get into this quick review. First, let me say that visually, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is freaking amazing. I cannot stress how amazing it is, really, honestly. So if you're like an artist, if you're like into animation, I honestly never seen anything done like this before. I really have not. And here's an example. Like, for example, Spider-Man Noir is a Spider-Man from the 1930s. So it was done like in black and white. So his animation is all black and white. Then they have Spider, which is spelled SP, 2/DR, and it's like an anime type. So she's done it like an anime. And then you have Spider-Ham, Peter Porker. Shout out to Peter Porker. He's done it like a cartoonish, animation. So all those are put into the movie. And I think that's freaking amazing. And then back in the day, back in the 60s, 70s, and in the early 80s, there was an issue with the printing of comics, like where they were sending their stuff to get printed, where the comic books, the background, you would see like these little dots in the back. And that's how the movie is done, like with that in mind. I think that's freaking amazing. Like, this is a detail that in of itself, like they gotta win an Oscar for animation. I know they got nominated for Best Animated Movie for a Golden Globe, but they got to win also for an Oscar. Like I just don't see it. I honestly, like, just visually, it is probably the best animated movie I've seen in a while. Even better than Pixar, like just how they did it together. So shout out to Sony for that. The pacing is great, and I'm gonna give you probably the best analogy of the pacing. There was this little kid behind us. He was probably about 4 or 5 years old. And before the movie started, he was talking. And I was like, I really hope that this child does not talk throughout the movie. But the pacing was so well, he kept his mouth shut. And I was really shocked. I don't know if it was because his dad was like, you better not. But I don't think he did that. And the pacing was just well. Mind you, that you had all these different characters in the movie. Like, for example, they gave you the origin of Spider-Ham. They gave you the origin of Spider-Man Noir. They gave you the origin of Gwen, Spider-Gwen. So, like, they introduced you to all these characters, and then they gave you the origin story quickly, and enough for you to get enough information to absorb it and to get to know the characters. That was amazing writing right then of itself. And I think that is a testament of how dope this movie was. Ultimately, this was a Miles Morales movie, and I think, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a huge Miles Morales fan. I did not see that coming. I know that one of the trailers was heavy on Miles Morales, but trailers could throw you off. So I just really honestly did not see that coming. With these things, especially with Sony, I'm always like skeptical because they never really been dope to the Spider-Man franchise before, outside of Homecoming, which really is a Marvel Cinematic Universe production. So I was really worried, but they did a good job. So it's a Miles Morales movie. So I know a lot of people came in there, a lot of white people came in there thinking like, oh, it's gonna be like Peter Parker, but it's a Miles Morales movie, and that's really what I was like, wow. And I like, they stuck to the original story, because in the comic book, he doesn't want to be Spider-Man. He's very reluctant about being Spider-Man for several reasons, but he still ends up taking the mantle and really ends up stepping up to the plate, and the movie captures that. So I think that I really love that. I love that they have like the villains. Like, I love that they have Tombstone. I was like, oh shit, they got Tombstone. I love that they have Nicolas Cage playing Spider-Man Noir. I love that they have the Kingpin, because I know that the Kingpin was originally a Daredevil villain, but in Spider-Man, he plays. He's in Spider-Man's rogue galleries. I'm gonna go ahead and say that, because I know for me, he always showed up in Spider-Man. Even in the Spider-Man strip that you find in the newspapers, the Kingpin was prominent in that. So I thought that was really dope. So man, what else can I say about the movie? You got to go see it. I'm trying to do this without spoiling it. It's fun. If you are a super Spider-Man geek, this is for you. And what I mean by Spider-Man geek, not just the comic books, but also if you're into like the first cartoon, you will love it. If you're into like just all the little nuances, they threw that in there. So, and it reminds me of Lego Batman, because Lego Batman, if you're a comic book fan, you would love Lego Batman. And I would say the same thing about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. If you're a comic book fan, you wouldn't. But what I like is that, let's say, for example, you are completely unfamiliar with the Spider-Man universe, which is, if you live in the United States of America and you are over the age of 5, that is impossible. There is just no way that you can be unfamiliar with that universe. But even if you are, let's say you are, you can walk in and watch this movie and you will love it. And I think that whoever wrote it, like, you did your thing, because you wrote something that was for the hardcore comic book person. You wrote something that was for the 90s cartoon fans, and then somebody who just got into it. And I think that is dope. And I think that's why you should go see the Spider-Verse movie. It's really dope. Hands down, the best animated movie of 2018. And I'll fight anybody in the street for that. Word. I want to point something out real quick that, like, I know Twitter gets a bad rap for a lot of things. I'm not gonna lie, outside the trolls, Twitter's been a good experience for me. But one thing I've learned is that, contrary to popular belief, there are some nuanced conversations on Twitter that we have, and unfortunately, you don't see those conversations in Facebook. Don't get me wrong. The thing about the internet is that things happen a mile a minute, right? We switch up on people that we care about. We go back to the people that we canceled, etc., etc. And Twitter, everything moves at the speed of thought, and it feels like, right? So one thing I've learned, and this goes out to all my tweets out there, because I've been tweeting for a while, and there's one thing that I realize is that most people are not on Twitter. And I'm not trying to be condescending or anything like that, because I know the thing about Twitter is that you really have to engage people. So that's probably why it's, for a lot of people, is one of the most difficult forms of social media that you can use. Facebook is easy because you don't really have to engage. Instagram is kind of easy because you don't really have to engage. You can just post. Not Instagram. Snapchat is actually easy because you can just post, and at 24 hours later it's gone. You don't really have to respond to nobody if they come for you. And sometimes they gotta be like your friends for them to actually follow you. So I think that's like what separates Snapchat from other things, and really what separates Twitter from all of them, because again, that's where we have those kind of conversations. That's where we expose motherfuckers, and I think that a lot of people don't see that. So I know a lot of times when somebody will bring up a particular notable person to me, I'll say, hey, I don't really mess with that person. They'd be like, why? And I look at them like they're crazy, but then I remember they're not on Twitter. So they didn't see the conversations that we had about that particular individual in the act. So I think we should keep that in context, especially when it comes to celebrities that, like, for example, like R. Kelly. Like, if you go on Twitter, R. Kelly's name is mud, to most of the people on Twitter. You still got some holdouts that think, R. Kelly's the man. But really, off Twitter, a lot of people love R. Kelly. I know a lot. I don't listen to the radio. So, like, a lot of, like, my coworkers listen to the radio. And some people that I know listen to the radio, and they'll be bumping R. Kelly, and I'll be like, whoa, what the fuck? But then I realized that the conversations that we had on Twitter, we're not having in real life, unless you hang out with people that have those kind of conversations. I know within my circle, I hang around with people that have those nuanced conversations, and that's something that we got to remember before we jump down people's throats. Just wanted to point that out. A lot of people ask me, well, not a lot, but people ask me, they say, what do you do about the holidays, Christmas and New Year's, we're around family. They usually have these huge Christmas dinners, and we tend to eat a lot. And then a lot of us worry about what's going to happen at the gym. And I say this, man, look, I don't believe in what's called a cheat day. And here's why I say that. When we're around family, we're around good people that we love and care about. A lot of times there's a lot of food, there's a lot of drink, and we indulge ourselves. And I think that's a good thing. I don't have an issue with that. I honestly don't. Do people on average pack more pounds during the holidays? Yes, they do. There are all kind of studies and numbers and all that. But I think that's for everybody. It's across the board. That's everybody. And then again, I'm the type of person that I feel like you shouldn't peg your standard and your lifestyle to how much you weigh. I don't believe that. I don't think you should. I don't think you should do that. I don't think you should sit on a scale and say, this is how much I weigh now. I'm trying to, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've just never, you guys know me. I've just never been about that. So what I will say though is just watch your portions. Just watch your portions. It's real easy to overindulge and do too much. So watch your portions. Watch how much you eat. And a lot of us like to eat until we maybe have the itis and stuff like that. So I know we all want to watch football and all that, but just watch your portions. Other than that, don't sweat it too much. Word is bond.
This is a man's world, but it would be nothing without.
This is a man's world.
Part 3, BC, sip lime McCarthy. Heavy on the wrist, you blink my ice ring. John Green, get that storm. Part 3, BC, sip lime McCarthy.
A couple of people actually that listen to my podcast that I've encountered face to face have said, there's but so much you can talk about when you talk about how to approach women. It's something that it comes up in like almost every conversation. There's plenty for me to do. And what I'm learning is that men just don't know how to approach women. It's just straight up fact. And that's why I made this segment, to give some of you the tools to do that. Because I'm telling you, I still go out today. And I'm not talking about like, I can see if you're like 17 years old. I get it. Because you might not be able to, I can't expect you to be 17 years old and then be a conversationalist. But I see people that are like, late 20s, early 30s, and they just don't know how to do it. And it takes work. And again, I'm going to go back to episode 1. We talked about rejection, and it's going to happen. You're not going to always be successful. But ultimately, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get you brothers to really put in work and say the right things to the sisters out there, that is not offensive, that is not vulgar, all those things, man. That's what I endeavor to do. So that's why I do this segment. And this is how I want you guys out there to think about it. I want you to really think about it. How can you approach someone who's attractive, good looking, and all that, is smart? How do you approach them without being offensive? Because that's what a lot of y'all ask me. And it's just really, just think about it. You see them as human beings, straight up human beings. You don't want to overstep boundaries. You want to let them know, hey, I like you and want to maybe take you on a date. And that's simple. And to be honest, that's all that women ask us to do. I know it sounds like, oh, you're not saying anything profound, but it's true. Because a lot of us, too many of us, are not doing it. And I hope that helps out. A couple of shout outs, man, just a few. I act like I got like mad shout outs. But anyway, shout out to my man Deezer. We did a photo shoot together the other day. I appreciate you for that, man. Trying to do more in 2019. Damn, crazy coming out the mouth. Shout out to my man Theo. He had another child, him and his wife. So now they are 4. So shout out to that, man. Babies are always a dope thing, ain't they? They're always a dope thing. So definitely want to give them a shout out for that. Shout out to the homie Mystic Creates, who continues to give me some dope ideas for the show. And definitely shout out to Step of the Dope Science Show. I got to catch up on it. And, you just doing y'all thing out there. So I appreciate y'all for that. Word is born. And here we go, episode 55, and we out, party people. If you need to book me for workshops, I could do anything on capoeira, breakdancing, intersectionality, black male feminism, hip-hop culture. You can send me email to DanTresOMi@gmail.com. We can talk, we can negotiate. And that's DanTresOMi@gmail. If you want to ask me any advice, go ahead and do it at the same email address. Just this time in the subject column, put advice. You can find me on Twitters at DanTresOMi, DanTresOMi, or Omi's podcast. Definitely. We got one more coming for the rest of the year. We got a holiday special coming up, and that'll be the last one. That'll be episode 56. Definitely party people, and we out.